Welcome to a brand new week of AM Prime. I'm so excited that you're here with us for the entire week. We had so much fun last week. We were educated, we were thoroughly informed, we enjoyed what we were doing. I hope you had a great and safe weekend. I hope whatever you did, you enjoyed it, whether you spent time alone, spent time with family and friends, or you worked, you relaxed. I just hope that you had a great weekend. We're taking you through another day on AM Prime. You know how we start our mornings by now. We started with a daily inspiration. And today's daily inspiration, although all of them seem to be a little personal, is lift your head up. I was walking through town this weekend and, I was just consumed with all the thoughts of all the stuff I had to do, all the stuff I had to accomplish this weekend before the week started. And someone called out to me, hey, lift your head up. And I kind of looked around like, who were they talking to? But I didn't realize I was so buried in my thoughts that my head was down and I was walking through town like this. And they were saying to lift your head up, to think positive, to think of good things. And even though you're in the midst of your problems, even though you're in the midst of all the things that you have to do, remember to lift your head up. And I thought that was so motivational and that was so key, and I really wanted to share it with you. So remember, in the midst of all that you're going through in your mind, in your body, in terms of your environment, wherever you are feeling a struggle or challenges, remember to lift your head up, to think of the brighter things, not ignoring the things that are not going well. You're working on those things, but in the midst of it, remember to lift your head up. We have an exciting show packed for you today. And before we go on to our interviews and other stuff that we have this morning, we're going to go to a bit of regional news. And we're starting off with good news. It's a good Monday. We're starting off with some good news. So we're deeming this Good News Monday. And going to the region, we start with St. Kitts and Nevis. Produce Delight Farm, a local farm in St. Kitts and Nevis, is spreading the message of the importance of growing your own food. Now, we know how important that is. Throughout the island by donating pumpkins to hospitals, communities, prisons, and schools. Our friends at ZIZ Online has more on this report.
Give Back was in full swing on Thursday morning as ZIZ News captured owner of Produce Delight Farm, Otis Jeffers, making a donation of pumpkins to various institutions around the island. The first stop was at the JNF General Hospital, where Mr. Jeffers explained the rationale behind his Operation Give Back initiative.
It is a good thing to be a blessing to others and to give back to society. And today I'll be donating a few pumpkins to all the hospitals around the island. The Cardin Home, the St. Christopher Children's Home, the New Horizon Rehabilitation Center, His Majesty's Prison, and other establishments around the island.
He explained that this donation is also a means of promoting the Eat Local concept.
So as part of my Operation Give Back, I chose to donate pumpkin. But why pumpkin? Pumpkin is a crop that can be grown all year round. It's very easy to manage. And when we grow pumpkin, we harvest pumpkin in abundance. And also we're trying to promote the Eat Local concept, and we want our locals to grasp the meaning of eating local and to understand the nutritional benefits of these wonderful, lush, ripe pumpkins that we have here.
Director of Health Institutions at the JNF General Hospital, Dr. Jensen Morton, thanked Mr. Jeffers for his donation and spoke of the benefits of consuming pumpkin.
And I would like to say thank you to Mr. Jeffers for the much appreciated donation. At the hospital, we try our hardest to promote healthy eating when anyone is here as a patient. And pumpkins are a very good food. We know they're rich in vitamin A, they're rich in antioxidants, they can help to boost an immune system. So it's a wonderful food to include into the diets of patients and of all people. We are really happy that locally pumpkins of such high quality are being produced, and we will definitely continue to source produce like this locally.
That is some amazingly good news coming out of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we head over to Guyana with some more good news. So another good news story in the region in Guyana. Tanisha Lewis, a young student, started her event planning business to help with payments for tuition. Newsroom Guyana had the opportunity to chat with her about this venture. Let's watch.
My name is Tanisha Lewis, and I'm 22 years old. I am a local entrepreneur and the owner of TBE Events. And I am a full-time student either way, so it would be hard to work full-time and then do full-time studies. So that is how I started my business. Also because I really like designing in any form of aspect, whether it's designing a person's style or designing a simple room, and that's where the inspiration came from. TBE Events was launched on February 12, 2021. We turned a year this year, and basically we started off doing luxury picnicking in Guyana, and then as the year progressed we evolved into an event planning and event decor company. Snap and Go, on the other hand, we do backdrop designs for any sort of event. We can create a set for you, or you can send us a design that you want to be created, and we will come and set it up for you and then tear it right down back for you. The initial reason for my business was I really wanted to work while I was going to university. However, every time I applied for a job, persons kept telling me I was too overqualified. Also because I really like designing in any form of aspect, whether it's designing a person's style or designing a simple room, and that's where the inspiration came from.
That is amazing. Some really good news coming out of the region, and we'll also shed light on good news coming out locally from Trinidad and Tobago. I think this good news segment on a Monday may just be a thing, so look out for more on that. Up next on our program, we're going to be speaking to the Supermarket Association of Trinidad and Tobago to find out what's going on with that. We'll also be talking to the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago as well, and lots more. Let's take a break, and we'll see you on the other side.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Know the signs of fraudulent investment. Follow the ABCs of investing. Ask questions. Beware of investment fraud. And check with the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission first to verify that the individual and investment are registered. Protect you and your loved ones from investment fraud.
Thank you for staying with us. Our next guest is here to talk to us about food prices, increase, what's going on in our supermarkets and our grocery shelves. We welcome to AM Prime via Zoom Mr. Rajiv Dipti, and he's the president of the Supermarket Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Mr. Dipti.
Good morning, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for being here with us. All right, so we want to go straight into it. Tell us about the increase in food prices. We're seeing that, certain items, the prices would have increased. We just came out of a pandemic. We're still reeling from that, whether it's on the business side of things or the consumer side of things. Tell us about the increase, why was it necessary, and, how can this work for persons who are still operating on a budget because of losses experienced in the pandemic?
Well, firstly, good morning. And, it's very much a hot topic. We've had a lot to deal with. You mentioned the pandemic. Yeah. There was also the war in Ukraine. And as a result, we're still feeling the results of higher commodity prices, elevated energy prices. Mm-hmm. There's been higher labor costs in those countries where we've traditionally imported from. In our case, it's North America and Ukraine. We would have seen that shipping prices have come down very much so, particularly from the Far East, where China is concerned. The real, story there is that we don't import a lot of food from China. Mm. We've benefited a little bit from prices coming down, where we've seen soap powder, for example. That's just one of the items that we get. Prices have come down. We've seen oil prices come down, but commodity prices, and we can reference the latest FAO report here, mm-hmm. because they posted their March report just a few days ago. Yes, and it's pretty much a snapshot that things have. It's good, and it's also, it's in a way it's showing that things are stabilizing, that things are, particularly when you consider what food prices are, they are in a way still trying to stabilize at a point where consumers can access the prices. We've had a lot of issues, particularly with transshipment, particularly with some of the goods that we get. There's still not a lot of stability in the market. Now, one of the things to consider is that this time last year, we would have seen food prices experience a frequency of price increases. Right. We're not seeing anything like that at all this year. This year is a story of the world market trying to recalibrate itself. Mm. It's because you've had the effect of economies reopening. Yes. You've had the effect of economies, particularly where demand and supply is concerned. You have demand soaring now, and supply is trying to catch up to that soaring demand. Mm-hmm. So you've had the food, you've not benefited as yet from the bulk buying that we traditionally get the specials on, but we've had a lot of importers telling us that, look, we're feeling that the food prices are leveling out. Mm-hmm. They're feeling that this is something, as soon as the stable prices and the decreases where applicable are able to be passed on, that's something that's going to be possible. And for us at the supermarkets, we're trying our best still to put out the specials, the promotions, the discount deals. And it's something that we're working with customers on, because we're very cognizant of their price points and what they can work on right now. Mm-hmm. You got more of deals. I've been noticing that a lot of items are being broken up. They're being sold. We're finding more creative ways to pass on these specials to the customers. So it's something that we're staying very much on top of.
Okay. In terms of mentioning that things are stabilizing, as compared to last year, there were increases, rapid increases, and this year we're kind of seeing that it's not been increased as much as it did last year. Is this going to be reflected in the pockets of citizens in terms of the prices? So is it that we're going to feel this, decrease in increases, so to speak?
So I'm glad you asked the question, because it's not just, it's a confluence of factors that play into this equation. You have a situation where the cost of living in particular has been affected.
Yes.
You have a situation it's not exogenous, where it's not indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago. It's a wide situation. It's been well documented. Global inflation has been playing a role, particularly when you look at interest rates in North America, when you look at what's happening, how the dollar in particular is moving to protect itself from the effects of the war in Ukraine. So you have this situation where materials and supplies prices have been going up, and it's the food prices around the world have been struggling to balance itself around this equation. So, even in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we're considering a rate increase, and what that means for utilities, what that means for the cost of operation. So we have all these things that are playing out right now, and we're balancing delicately where this situation is coming out. So it's not just one thing that's going to determine whether or not it's easy for consumers. We have consumers who've been on fixed income for a very long time. Adjustments have had to be made. What stores have been doing is trying their best to ensure that the basics when you go to the stores are amongst the lowest margins inside the stores. And that's something that under the banner of the association, those stores have endeavored to really ensure that the most basic goods remain accessible to the most vulnerable households. So you have a situation where, yes, there's continued access at reasonable prices. However, we are all working against the factors that continue to play heavily into this equation right now. And, moving forward in 2023, it's definitely that kind of challenge facing us, especially as we continue to import the prices, because we're not producing the goods. And that's a very key point here. We're not producing any of it. We had a situation last year where we had the Agri Expo. We talked a lot about what we're doing as a country and a region for food security. We've yet to see some of these projects bear fruit. And where they will bear fruit is when we can say that we have some measure of control over the production of the items that we require for food security.
Right. In terms of that point you made with us not producing locally, for products that we do produce locally, is it that we can assume that prices are going to be reasonable, or are they going to be competitive on the level of products that we do import?
So when we talk about production, we need to talk about the scale of production. We need to talk about the inputs of production, because even where we have local manufacturing happening in Trinidad and Tobago, we import those inputs for production. Let's look at local farmers. The fertilizers, the pesticides, the chemicals, they're all imported. And we've all noticed that since the war broke out in Ukraine, that the nitrogens, the phosphates, all those so forth based chemicals and fertilizers have been affected, because they originate chiefly from those areas in Europe. So you have situations that put limitations on the table with respect to the scope for production. And at the same time, it's something that we consider strongly when we think about production. We are doing our best. We're innovating heavily. I can tell you that at the association, we have an upcoming trade show in June that heavily highlights these cottage producers, these local producers, these the buy local campaign is very strong in our opinion. We've seen, particularly during COVID, that a lot of persons, a lot of households, a lot of individuals would have gotten into the production game in a smaller way. And the incentive now is to really try to find financing for them to scale up, ensuring that they meet the required standards to get into the retail environment and to push them, because we're doing all we can right now to ensure local food security and to make a big push there, but it's still very challenging right now.
Right, because that was my next question in terms of, encouraging local products, local produce to get into on the supermarket shelves and so on. Are there any subsidies in place, any incentives? How do persons go about even getting access to this?
Yeah, we recognize that local has a space, has a role. We've been working with entities like Kariri, for example, ensure that they get the focus, because Kariri really takes them to the next level after they meet the basic requirements that are needed to get inside the stores. They walk them through testing, packaging, sampling, et cetera. So we have, as I said, a trade show coming up where we're going to be putting not just a local content focus, but a Caribbean focus, because when we look at the food security equation, it has to be from a regional perspective. It has to be that, we recognize that for ad nauseum, we have no control over food prices, especially when we're buying it on international markets. But what can we do from the local content perspective? What can we do from a regional perspective to ensure that there's a shift? And when you have that conversation, you have to think about the consumers, because their preferences have been imported goods for a very long time. Right. So you need to embark on the necessary awareness shifts to have a successful campaign for the consumption of local products. Because if you don't do that, then you're in a bind when it comes to them buying local.
Right. In terms of price gouging, I don't have any reports, of anything happening of that nature. But in instances where a consumer may realize that, the price of something is significantly higher at one establishment versus other spaces, what can the consumer do? And talk to us in general about the association and how you treat with that.
So for price gouging, that is a term that references the unscrupulous pricing of goods when it comes to retail, and when you see proprietors in particular taking advantage of acute shortages in the market. Now there aren't any right now when we talk about acute shortages in the market. A pretty good example of price gouging is when the pandemic now hit and you saw Lysol was being priced out in March 2020. That was one of the more premium examples I can give. However, so if you feel that the prices are unscrupulous and that establishments are taking advantage of your pocket, there is the Consumer Affairs Division of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. You can also message us at the association, but we encourage people to take pictures of to record their experience in terms of their receipts and in terms of the prices. We get lots of reports on social media. What you don't get is the incident reporting that is necessary to escalate a situation. So if there's a lot of hearsay when it comes to the trying to establish that there is a real situation, and that's something that needs to take place.
To walk us through the incident report exactly, what would you need to get from a consumer?
All the facts. Even if it's a video recording, even if it's pictures, we definitely need to see. We need to corroborate our customer's experience of the incident. We need to see, and typically we'll work with the Consumer Affairs Division we've seen the Fair Trading Commission put out something recently that, it's that it's monitoring prices very carefully. But what's really key to note here is that we have, unlike the rest of the Caribbean, a very thriving supermarket sector and a thriving retail sector in Trinidad and Tobago. The competition is so fierce that it simply does not allow for unfair pricing to dominate, because consumers, for example, if you went to a store and you had a bad pricing experience, you're not going back there. Yeah, you're going to go to the next predominant branding establishment that you can purchase your goods at, and you're going to spread it by word of mouth. Now, that's if an establishment in this island, because they've not just lost a customer, they're now suffering for their experience and what they've done. So when we actually try to see what takes place, there's very little of that being allowed to take place because it just cannot sustain itself.
Okay. All right. And going back in terms of raising prices, going back to that a bit, what is the process of, when prices have to raise? What is that process like? Is it something that is just,
Right. So there's you may be aware with the supply chain. Now, the supply chain is a long value chain. Importers of goods in this country and distributors as well will buy from foreign companies, foreign principals. Let's just look at North America. We buy the goods, the suppliers pass on the prices to stores. Now, normally the foreign companies will indicate a price increase, and there's been a lot of pricing pressures going all the way back into the pandemic, because there have been credit crunches, there have been changing terms when it comes to buying goods. Remember, foreign exchange is still a real issue.
Yes.
We have all these things in play right now. So when it comes to buying the goods and the price increases are being passed on, remember, we have this situation where demand has been soaring, but supply hasn't quite caught up as yet. And the price increases will be dictated to us by the distributors of goods in the country. So we work very closely with the distributors, because they also recognize that consumers can't access beyond a certain price point the goods that are being put out. So it's certainly something that we see ourselves, trying to work on all the time. The price increases don't come from the supermarkets, they come from the suppliers. The suppliers themselves, they're still handicapped when it comes to the price increases, because they're taking them on from foreign suppliers. So it's a long value chain. It all goes back to the point that if we're not making it, if we're not manufacturing it, if we're not agro-processing it, if we're not packaging it, then we're buying it at international prices. And unfortunately, this is where international prices have gone today. It's a situation that is global in nature. It's a situation where we're still trying to put the goods out at the most reasonable prices, but it's not been easy for stores, because with price increases means that we're having to spend more money to keep shelves full. So it's also a situation where we are very lucky. We've not had any shortages. We've not had any reason for complaints as yet.
Okay. We want to thank you for sharing with us this morning. And just before you wrap, what advice would you give to consumers, who are still going through, reeling from the pandemic, making sure that they have enough for necessities, they're able to cover those things, looking at prices, comparing it? What advice would you give to them?
Recently I held a lecture series at the University of the West Indies.
Yes,
the students asked me, what can we do right now? Outside of the household budgeting, as you recommended, we spoke a lot about the need to ensure our domestic food security, if that's in the form of a at-home kitchen garden, if that's how substitute certain things that we buy at the markets or the supermarkets. We talked about the need for menu preparations, meal planning, because this helps so much when it comes to budgets. we talked a lot about the need for consumer choices to be more proactive so that there's more meaningful import substitution. Because we talk a lot about import substitution, but consumers are still driving the retail trends at the stores right now when it comes to the foreign goods being consumed in the manner that they're being consumed. Because for all the price increases, the reason that a lot of these foreign goods are still being put out on the shelf is that consumers are continuing to push those trends of consumption. So it's a multi-pronged equation when we think about how we're going to deal with this. We have to be cognizant of our daily choices. When you go into the store, what you're buying, how you and are you passing up? Are you giving local a chance? Are you passing it up? You know, just the fact that we continue to drive our choices in the direction that we're driving it is we're propagating our own consumption patterns in a way that in the very long term is not sustainable. But it's on us as consumers to ensure that we make responsible decisions and that we give local a chance where we can.
Yeah. If persons wanted to reach out to the association in any way, what are your contact numbers, or are you on social media?
Yeah, Sydney, we have a thriving social media presence. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can just drop us a line. We have a website, ICNTTHQ.com. You can definitely message us on Facebook. We're very responsive. And as I said, we have a trade show coming up. It's cut at the end of June. It's the Caribbean Food and Beverage Show. And we look forward to sharing more details with you guys at WESN in time to come.
Definitely. We'll definitely keep in touch with you to promote that. That would be a good initiative that persons should attend. Thank you so much, Mr. Dipty, for joining us this morning. We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
We discuss gestational diabetes, a form of diabetes which develops in pregnant women. This medical condition can affect both the fetus and mother, but can be managed to ensure that you have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby.
From the first trimester, there's an increased risk of miscarriages, an increased risk of fetal abnormalities. So these are congenital. The baby could be born with an abnormality.
What's Up, Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing nowadays.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Thank you for staying with us. Our next guest is going to be speaking to us about men and society. And the way we view men, we view abuse that is, done against men, the way we view their vulnerability. Joining us via Zoom is Mr. Rondell Fields, who is the president of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome and thank you for joining us on AM Prime this morning, Mr. Fields.
Morning. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. Now, last week we focused on men, vulnerability. We spoke to Dallas and Charles, and we talked about that a lot. But we really want to speak to you in terms of society's view of things and how that impacts or is affected by the laws that we have in the country. So, in particular, we have a situation last week where someone would have, entered a vehicle, would have, been robbed, would have been abused, reported it. And then we saw on social media the outpour of comments, against this thing that was done to this person and the way persons viewed it. Talk to us about that and just the history of this that we've been seeing.
Well, yeah, society has a big part on to play when it comes to the way that men are viewed. Are we victims or are we only the perpetrators? It's weighed heavily on the way that we perceive even posts being made as well. And that very post here, I'm pretty sure you'd have seen a lot of commenters making fun of it, laughing or heckling and a lot of these things as well. Whereas in the vice versa scenario, had it been a woman, you'd have seen empathy, sympathy, care, concern. And that's it. Society, for some reason, really don't see men as victims. And men also don't see themselves as victims because of this. You're always told to be tough, to be strong, which are good things as well. Let's not say that's bad at all. But the thing is, we need to now go deeper into what is strength. We need to go deeper into what victimhood looks like. Who can be a victim? We are all victims of so many different things. We are all human beings, and once you're a human being, you're susceptible for a lot of things that are very similar. We often try to always differentiate between maleness and femininity, but we are very similar in many ways, both emotionally, and in some ways even physically as well. So I think we need to reframe and restructure and really do a lot of introspection personally, and then together as a people, as into the way we view things pertaining to men, sensitive topics, as we say, like sexual crimes being perpetrated against men, even sexual crimes that men are accused of as well. And sometimes and physical crimes that men are accused of as well. Some crimes, it is public knowledge that if a claim is made or an allegation is made against a man, he is automatically deemed as though he's guilty, sometimes without having evidence to support it. Or there's this ideology in your mind that, hey, this is a man, so more likely than not, he may have committed or perpetrated this crime. It may be because historically we've seen research saying that a man may be more prone to do this than a woman, and we've allowed these things to impair and impact our judgment. So the view is changing society's way of thinking is a great challenge. But some people that come out of society must be able to rise above those challenges because it is their job spec and it is their mandate to do so.
How do we change?
Persons doing social work, persons who make up juries, judges, they cannot allow those societal views to impact or impair their judgments because many a time they may either not assess or adjudicate in the manner that they should.
Right. And I know we're talking on a governmental level as well as in office. How do we in the home, starting with us in the home, how do we change this view, raise our young men to understand that they are human, that, they can go through things, that they can face abuse. These things they're not susceptible to these things. How do we go about changing the way they think about these things and view these things? And as well as our young women.
I think there's a lot of introspection to be done. There's a lot of unlearning to be done. And you don't have to go to school to do that type of unlearning. Because by doing that unlearning, you actually are educating yourself as well. You have to become realistic with age and, I mean, via experience or seeing other person's experiences. You must now analyze and actually try to figure out the way that you think. I will use an example that is right now very, very ticklish in the social media space. You would have seen, because I do this with myself, you would have seen a man and a woman fighting, and you would have heard a woman saying, I need help, help me, somebody call the police. But when you really look at the video, it is the man wrestling with the woman to remove a hammer from her hand.
Okay.
So even I, at first when I saw it, I said, well, why this man abusing this woman? So I had to sit back, because of the experience I have, I had to sit back, introspect, and then look at the facts and details that was taking place. Was he abusing her? Was he trying to remove the hammer from her care? From her possession? Is a hammer a deadly weapon? Was she saying threatening things when she had the hammer in her hand? And then I came to another conclusion. But it is because we are driven by our emotions, and we are driven so much sometimes by things that has happened historically. Many of us, myself included, have seen our mothers being abused by our fathers. So sometimes a man speaks a certain way, whether it may at the end of the day after proper analysis be deemed self-defense for him, we still subliminally, because of our personal experience, say, nah, he's abusive because he's a man, he should never do that, he should never do this, he should never say this, he should never. And this is where I'm coming from. We personally, even before, or even for us to be able to teach this type of thinking to our children, need to sometimes unlearn some of the messages we heard. Messages like a man should never hit a woman, which is factual, but we've never seen the messages that a woman should never hit a man also. Nobody, that whole message should be redirected to no one should put hands on anyone else. And we have not many a time unlearned what we've learned. And because of that, it impacts the way we make decisions, it impacts the way we make personal assessments and judgments. And it's very dangerous because as I identify those specially selected persons like judges, social workers, jurors, all these people who have to be non-biased, if they do not find a way, or the training isn't provided to them to neutralize some of their personal biases based on their experiences in their life, they could do a disservice when it comes to justice to both men and women.
How do we impact the office? How do we impact these positions and, get them to see the reality of the situation and how severe it is? And also talk to us about the work that you've been doing with the Single Fathers Association and how you've been making steps towards this.
But the main way to impact those persons at that level is to call them out when you see they behave badly, call them out when they make bad judgments, call them out when they are biased, call them out. And that is the position and the purpose of the advocate. Not to be loved at every time they say everything, to often be misunderstood at times also, but to be factual, accurate, and bring your point home. And that is why I would have at times people who agree with me and times people who disagree with me, no problem. But at the end of the day, sometimes having that uncomfortable position or discussion here publicly to drive people forcefully out of their traditional ways or perceptions or views that have been inculcated subliminally into their mind is the only way you get them to see differently. Not because you're a judge, or not because you may be a lawyer, not because you may be a minister. It means that you've even treated or dealt with that type of thinking. And not until some advocates from a position that appears controversial, but then you decide to sit back, introspect, and say, I don't like this man all the time, but what he says makes sense. And then you now start redirecting your thought process, your thought patterns, and then you would start to see things clearly yourself and be able to explain to other persons as well.
Right. Talk to us a bit about the Single Fathers Association and the work that you're doing.
Well, as we said, our main thing at this point is advocacy, because we've done the men calling for outreach. We've done persons in need of pampers and assistance. We've done, the things that we've stood out most for is advocated, seeing things like in social welfare where fathers weren't allowed public assistance, seeing it now be a possibility, seeing things like court pay come into fruition where men and women have to go and line up to collect child maintenance. Now it's now electronically done. But then being able to change rhetoric, being able to gather research and prove the point that we were saying that men, based on their gender, were being treated inequitably in courts. We have the anecdotal evidence to support these things now. So based on that, I think we have been a strong powerhouse, but very uncomfortable and sometimes in many cases very, distasteful to some people on the things that we highlight, and we've been very good at highlighting non-biasedly, unbiasedly rather, and fairly. Because the thing is, it's not about, as I continue to say, push it fatherhood over motherhood or motherhood over fatherhood. It's about parenting. It's about getting it right. It's about co-parenting. It's not about saying who will win in court. At first, when we started, we thought it was just about fighting for an equitable position before a court. But it's bigger than that. It's about getting people to not want to go to court, getting people to understand the value of our father, getting people to understand the value of our mother, and how either party contributes to the benefit of the child, so that we as mature adults could shelve our past issues. You cheat on me, fine. You do me that, fine. Let us shelve it now. We already ended our relationship for whatever issue we had intimately. Let us come together. Let us co-parent. Let us be the best parents we could be for that child who did nothing and is now in a splintered family relationship. So I think our advocacy point, due to the fact we've been able to be unbiased, straight down. If it's a man wrong, he wrong. If it's a woman wrong, she wrong. I think we are one of the few groups that could boast that, and then the evidence would support that we've always supported the writing opposed of what goes based on an agenda.
Talk to us about some of the outreach initiatives that you've been doing, whether it's in schools or the community, and how persons can get involved in this if they want to be a part of the association, to become an ally, to lend support in any way.
Well, we've done a lot of outreach, as I said, by our phone at times. Because of our limited capacity and resource, we still don't make excuse. What we tell people is to meet us where we are now in hubs and in groups. Everyone enjoyed for the last decade. They've been able to call and get Mr. Fields on the phone, call and get Mr. Grant, call and get Mr. Anderson. And I could tell you, I've seen, for that type of calling, I've seen where it impacts the officers themselves. And I am the one who tell you, hey, we can't do this anymore. We have to do this on a group basis. And on every single Thursday night, we have an outreach, video outreach via Facebook Live on my page where persons can log on, type in their information, let us know what's wrong. We also have a Telegram chat that we've now started. Persons can get on to the Telegram chat, so they'll continue to send us their issues and we'll reach them via text on the Telegram chat as well, where it comes to that level of outreach. We have the website that we've just launched this year as well, www.tfatt.com. And I encourage people to use that website and do not be lazy and think I could only get help if I call and get somebody on the phone. We have scores of video tutorials there. We have seminars there. We have joint select committee hearings there. We have issue papers there. A lot of research. And one of the reasons we devised that is because at the point in time when I started this, there was nowhere in the region that you could find any type of information pertaining to fatherhood at all, or to parenting rather, not even motherhood. So that is why we developed this website and encourage people to use it. People have to seek their own interests. You cannot expect that, all right, when an issue comes up on me, let me find somebody's number only to call. You have to have that level of proactiveness, so that even before you end up in an issue, you may be married now, you may even have a child, but go to the website, educate yourself. You can help a friend, and each one has to reach one. It can't be 4 or 5 selected persons if we really want to have change or make great impact in the thinking in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for sharing that. Before we wrap up, what advice would you give to young men, men in general, who may be facing issues where they may be abused, whether it's physically, emotionally, sexually, and they want to go and they want to go and talk about these crimes. They want to go and report it, but what happens in terms of society, and in the midst of it not changing at this point, what advice would you give to them?
You're a man. A man is a human being. A man is susceptible. A man must be receptive. We've heard all the definitions of manhood and manliness, and it's always the machismo. But men need to know how to receive as well, and it's something that we have challenges with. So we have to learn to be receptive. We have to learn to receive love. We have to learn to understand that we could be victims as well. Receive help, go for help. Nothing wrong with asking for help. It's not, you only need help when even for our health, sometimes we hesitate to go for help until it's on the last straw.
Yeah.
We need to understand that we are human beings and we need help as anybody else. So there's no wrong, there's no injustice, there's nothing to be ashamed about, there's nothing to be feel scornful of if you go and you get assistance.
Okay, we appreciate you. Tell us again the website for persons who would want to check out and get information.
www.tfatt.com. For Fathers Association, Trinidad and Tobago. Right, so tfatt.com.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fields, for joining us. We take a quick break. When we come back, we have lots more in store for you.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WASN,
the content capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
But if we died with Christ, we have faith that we will also live with him. We know that Christ has been raised from the dead, and he will never die again. Death no longer has power over him. He died to sin once and for all with his death, but he lives for God with his life. Join WESN as we explore the death and resurrection of Christ with He is Risen, a perspective from bearing leaders within the Christian faith. He is Risen, starting March 27th, only on WESN, the content capital.
Thank you for staying with us. Earlier we looked at some regional news. Now we're going to go to some international news. And in our first international story, in the US, another powerful storm pummeled California overnight into Saturday, resulting in at least 2 deaths and causing a levee to give way in coastal country. France 24 has more on this.
Raging waters and extremely dangerous winds. This Californian knows he should not stay long on this bridge, which could collapse at any time. Since Friday, the floods have washed away several roads. Several communities are also cut off from the rest of the state. Residents of SoCal, south of San Francisco, can no longer leave. California has been battered by heavy rains for several days, which are predicted to continue in the coming week. State officials are urging residents to take every precaution.
Never drive through barricades or road closures. Never drive through water that you don't understand what the depth of that water is. As we've talked before, 12 inches of water can float an automobile.
In Fenton, residents had to be evacuated exactly 2 months after another flooding in January.
Now we have to go home, pack our stuff, and leave once again when we were just able to come back a couple weeks ago.
According to the governor's office, some 17,000 households in Monterey County found themselves without power on Saturday. For some, these floods are the final straw.
The sad thing is I could probably tell you 5 or 6 people that are, as soon as they can rebuild, they'll be selling their homes because you can't live like this. How do you live like this?
This week's storm marked the state's 10th atmospheric river of the winter. Storms that have brought enormous amounts of rain and snow to the state and helped lessen the drought conditions that had dragged on for 3 years.
And in some more international news, we head to Lagos, Nigeria, where a train collided with a public bus, killing 6 people and injuring dozens others. As the bus driver tried to beat the train signal, France 24 has more on this report.
The accident has been blamed on the bus driver's reckless driving. On Thursday, bystanders looked on as a crane attempted to lift the bus off the train tracks after a deadly collision in Nigeria's biggest city, Lagos.
The BRT tried to run past through the level crossing at PWD. But unfortunately, the train caught up with it, and it had to drag it down to this particular portion.
Authorities in Lagos confirmed this version of events. They said the driver had tried to beat a signal warning about an oncoming train, a decision that came with fatal consequences.
When I entered inside the bus, so I saw people inside, there wound, serious wound. There is blood everywhere. So from there, I started to rescue people inside the bus out. One person when I see inside the corridor is totally dead.
2 people died on the spot. Several others later died in hospital. The wounded were treated outside this hospital in the city. Lagos is one of the biggest cities on the African continent. It's known for its bustling streets and traffic jams. Each year, thousands of people are killed on the road across the country.
And our last international story today, the war in Ukraine continues 1 year later. The team at France 24 has some updates on what's happening on the ground. Let's watch.
Bakhmut continues to be a very, very difficult theater of operations for the Ukrainian army. The commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army admitted that the situation was getting increasingly difficult. You've mentioned it's over 7 months of fighting in the region. And just to give you an idea, on Friday there were 57 assaults from Russian troops and Wagner mercenaries at the forefront of them against the city. That is what the Ukrainian forces are fighting against, also fighting against shelling. This city is just a ghost city. It used to have 70,000 inhabitants. It's nearly completely deserted, with Wagner mercenaries claiming that they are 1 kilometer away from the city center. Now, we have to be careful with that kind of information because it cannot be independently verified at this stage. And Wagner mercenaries are not just, they are not known only for their brutality on the front line, they're also known for disinformation. It's been weeks now that Russia has repeated its assaults against Bakhmut, with often mercenaries claiming gains that couldn't be immediately verified. But one thing for sure, the situation is very, very difficult for the Ukrainian troops there, indeed, with heavy losses on both sides.
That was our international news. We take a short break, and when we come back, we have one more interview to wrap up today's show.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN Content Capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
For our final guest this morning, we're talking winners row. We're talking to Daddy Chinese, who would have placed first in the Chutney Soca Monarch this year. He also placed first in the CRC Raja competition. And then finally, he won the 103.1 FM Chinese Soca Road March for 2023. Yes. Welcome, Daddy Chinese.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Good morning to everybody. Blessings all in Upton. Blessings to you on this beautiful day. Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you this morning. How are you feeling?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Overjoyed.
Overjoyed. Now let's get into this, because Daddy Chinese is not new to the scene at all. So tell us a bit about your history in terms of the quality of music that you've been producing consistently throughout the years, the competitions you've entered, and then the success that you have had throughout the years.
Okay, well, we last past 3 years, I've been placing 3rd place in the Chucky Soca Monarch. I'm in the road match. I came 4th last year, and well, this year I would have won it. I've been in the music a while. I started professional with Kalian, then I moved on to Song Revolution, traveling extensively with Song Revolution. Came back to Trinidad, and my first Chucky band I ever worked with was Trishul. From Trishul, well, let me back a little. Massive Bosine, he introduced me to Chucky music.
Okay.
But he entered Chucky band because at that time I was a band singer, so you know they wanted people in bands to hype, you know, have the hype thing because at that time the chain was big. When you go to a Chucky fete, you want to hear soca, you want to hear that crossover thing. You know, and they were IKB. And I mean, I was one of the best artists and still is.
Right. Now you deem yourself Daddy Chinese, the crossover king, right?
Yes,
so tell us a bit about that and, you know, why that's important for you.
Well, being a crossover king, it entails doing different genres. And I sing reggae, I sing soca, of course chutney, soca chutney, and para.
Yeah.
You know, so I dabble in all the cultures, all the music of our culture, and I'm very versatile all at any given time.
Yeah. What keeps you inspired to continue creating year after year, just creating and all these different genres? Because we see you on stages for parang, we see you on stages for soca, for chutney. What keeps you inspired and motivated to keep pushing?
Well, I just love the music. I just love the culture. I love it to my heart. It's not about money. It's not about how rich I can get because I mean I'm okay. You know, I rich. Hopefully one day. You know, I just love doing it. It's you know, passion. So I will keep doing it until the day I die.
What advice would you give to young persons who are looking on, you know, we even saw in the competition with, you know, the young queen who would have entered and placed as well too. What advice would you give to young people who are thinking about entering, they're not sure, you know, the journey isn't easy. It's not overnight success. It's day in, day out. Talk to them about that and the advice you would give them.
Well, this year I would have been the first Indo to win all the competitions within the chutney category, and I pursued it and stuck with it because, as I say, I love it. And my advice to youths, whatever you're doing, don't give up. If you love something, keep at it. Keep at it, and do not jump into music and tell yourself you'll make a bag of money, you'll be rich. Do it because you love it, because you want to represent a country and a culture, and keep it original. So at any point in time, you can represent your country and yourself, you know? So, yeah.
Talk to us about on the stage, because you would have entered these competitions. Talk to us about the process of getting prepared for this, you know, being able to do this and still perform for the season, compete, you know, all the different theatrics involved with the performance. Talk to us about that process.
Well, let me tell you something. To getting the things together for the stage competition is not easy. I mean, because besides having a good song, you must have a good presentation of the song.
Right.
You know, and I think I'd like to bring up the team, Trisha, Sunset Party Motions, TNT, and PDPI. They came out 100 behind me to support me financially and so forth. And of course, my wife, Sangita Piti, she will have worked very hard together with Trisha and the leader of Primella New Age Dance Academy, and that will be Abigail.
Okay.
Abigail Christopher. She's the one who can really get everything together, and she laid with Sangita and Trisha, and they work hard behind the scenes. Because I tell them, I say, oh, let me continue singing and delivering, and you will fixing it back there for me properly, and they did that. And thanks to them and on to part, you know, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to ask you, what was your mindset going into this year? You know, you would have come out of a pandemic, and we're still coming out of it as we speak. You know, where we weren't able to gather, we weren't able to have these competitions in the way that we've been able to this year. So, what was your mindset going in this year?
Well, I went into it because for the last 2 years, I did Middle into January, I'm becoming third, and I was right there, so I know this year I knew I had this song.
Okay.
From the word go, let me pick up the Tempo. Tempo is the guy who brought the idea to me. The writer, we co-write the song together.
Yes.
You know, and of course my producer Rishi Gardin for always giving me that good music, and I am also a lead singer with the RG band.
Okay.
So, the whole RG family.
All right.
And that was it. I know I had this song this year, and I went for it very strong, and make sure I brought it and prove to them that I deserve to get that title.
Yeah, talk to us about this song though, because this song speaks to unity, and we saw even with your performance with that unity. So talk to us about the meaning behind the song.
Well, where everybody concentrated on the negatives, I was on the positive, because let me tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago, we are the most diverse people with cultures, religions, and let me tell you something, we just come together, and we're playing this song for all religious festival, Christmas, Diwali, Eid, everyone just come together. So I wanted to put that in the song, let people know who we are. To sell that song, people will let them know we are blessed people. They say hurricane and earthquake just pass we straight, because we are a praying country. We are a praying people. We pray together, we live together no matter what. And that is why I wanted the world to know.
Yeah. Daddy Chinese, thank you so much for joining us. We want to take in a clip from the performance, persons who may not have seen it. A wonderful song, beautiful delivery. Congratulations to you. Before we go to the video, I wanted to ask, what next for Daddy Chinese for the rest of the year? Where can we see you perform? Where can we find you on social media?
Well, check me on social media. Keep on Daddy Chinese, the Soka Monarch, the Crossover King.
Right.
That's my artist page. You can get on normal my government name, Ricardo Melville, my page. On TikTok, Daddy Chinese 26. You know this, and I will say this look for me.
Yeah. Nice.
And of course, you want to contact Daddy Chinese, 347-0402, or go on my artist page on Facebook, and you contact me and I will get back to you. Well, this year I'm already almost heavily booked for foreign shows.
Okay,
financing stuff right now. And local shows, you know, I've plenty coming. Let's go on my pages, you'll see all that's happening and what's coming up. You know, and I already working on new music also.
Okay.
So look for something new probably in the next month, so from Daddy Chinese.
Okay. Yeah. All right, great. It was so good connecting with you. Congratulations again to you and the team behind it. We're going to take in a clip from that performance, so let's watch.
First place winner of PM Best Village. First place of CRC Raja and Groovy Monarch, third place. He hails from Pleasantville Orchid Garden, San Fernando. Did I pronounce that right? He has a song called We Are One. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Trinidad's very own Daddy Chinese!
African drums unite us in unison. We are one. Trinidad and Tobago.
We are one, 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 we are one. Let it say, I love my country. Yes, they want to know why Trini lucky so. They want to know more about Trinbago. Is it true, Poppy Nuts? Could be some kind of luck. Whatever it is, it will never stop. Together we aspire, together we achieve. Make us stronger than just standing. We unite with both cultures to get so naturally in sports or any kind of activity. We unite for carnival or religious festival and to help those in distress. So tell them yes, Trinbago is blessed. So let we jump up together, we dancing together, jump in unity, cause all are we. Let it say, I love my country. Yeah, I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. Hey. Yeah. All kind of reports, all kind of crazy thoughts. How we so safe is what driving them nuts. I suppose it's a force protecting all of us. Unity is what makes Trinbago boss. Together we aspire, together we achieve. Make us stronger than just standing. We unite with both cultures to get so naturally in sports or any kind of activity. We unite for carnival or religious festival and to help those in distress. So tell them yes, Trinbago is blessed. So let we jump up together, we dancing together, jump in unity, cause all are we. Made it say, I love my country. Yeah, I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. Let me dance. Social media spreading propaganda. Trinbagonians, we are proud who we are. We just be on the strain, smiling like we have no pain, knowing that we will overcome again. Together we aspire, together we achieve, because stronger than just can't be. We unite with both cultures to get so naturally in sports or any kind of activity. We unite for carnival or religious festival and to help those in distress. So tell them yes, Trinbago is, hey! So let we jump, we dancing together, jump in unity. Let it say, I love my country. Yeah, I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. I am your fire, you're my deity. We are one family. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah, yeah. If you believe Trinidad and Tobago is one people, put their hand in there right now. Show me your two hands right now. If you love Trinidad and Tobago, right now, show me, show me. Hey, yeah. my country, my country. Yeah, yeah. Ah! Trinidad and Tobago.
We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one, we are one.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing nowadays.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
But if we died with Christ, we have faith that we will also live with him. We know that Christ has been raised from the dead, and he will never die again. Death no longer has power over him. He died to sin once and for all with his death, but he lives for God with his life. Join WESN as we explore the death and resurrection of Christ with He is Risen, a perspective from bearing leaders within the Christian faith. He is Risen, starting March 27th, only on WESN, the content capital.
Such a wonderful performance by Daddy Chinese. Congratulations to him. Thank you to all our guests that joined us this morning. We've come to the end of today's program. Before we go to our Watch This, which I'm excited to introduce, remember, if you are interested in getting an interview with us, you can just email us, amprimewesn@gmail.com, or you can call or WhatsApp us at 868-620-1331. Today's Watch This is from Xavier Edwards. Tobago bred, talented artist, talented entrepreneur as well too. So we're going to take in his video for blessings, and let this be your theme for today. Remember to lift your head up, that's our daily inspiration, and to be blessed. Have a good day.
If I am really to share my story, they go tell me, boy, that can't be true. They don't know about my road to glory. They don't know the things that I've been through. When you watch my smile, don't think I don't know pain. And the sun will shine, but sometimes it will rain. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death and I go brave. And the whole way through I give my thanks and praise. And that's why blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. From a rise I'm morning give thanks for my 2 foot and my 2 hands. for the birds that sing in the trees, for the food we reap from the land, and eyes behold the beauty. I'm a beautiful twin island. Big O good and love Trinidad, Jamaica, Grenada, the whole Caribbean. Say me I keep me heart clean even when the world gets so cool and mean. Through the rise and the falls, I'm a faith stand tall and strong and lean. Me never ever lose hope even when me have to cope, keep a smile on me. And me have to live happy and free. Big up to the Almighty. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. Blessings and blessings are falling on me. From a rise I'm on and give thanks. For my 2 foot and my 2 hands. For the birds that sing in the trees. For the food we reap from the land. And eyes behold the beauty. I'm a beautiful twin island. Big O good and love Trinidad, Jamaica, Grenada, the whole Caribbean.
I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN